I think it would take a lot to really impress me or to change my perception on what synthesizers and synthesis is about, especially with just 20 years of development of it. And within about 3 minutes, all the preconceptions that I had of the machine were thrown out the window. Over the years of having 2 dozen, 3 dozen keyboards and whatnot come through my life, now this is the first time that I really want to get deep into a keyboard and discover what it has, and not just the great preset sound that maybe exists. It's getting deeper into the sound, and typically it's so difficult to get deeper. Especially if you're a programmer who immediately wants to work. You don't have the patience to go deep down into the synth to get the parameters necessarily the way you want them, because it could potentially inhibit the creativity of what you're trying to do if you're writing a song or you're programming a song. With this keyboard, it's just within hand's reach, and sometimes you might make a nice mistake that turns into the sound, and there's a hold button. You could if you just really discover a sound rather than having to get deep into the editing and the synthesis of it, you could immediately find something that could be applicable that's not the preset, but it's a metamorphosis of the preset. So it's unending. It's awesome. The amazing thing about the V-Synth to me is that, when you look at a typical all-in-one type of keyboard, and I'm not going to mention names, there is a bass sound, or there is a string sound that becomes synonymous with a style of music. And without mentioning names, when you look at the V-Synth, especially in an environment where most of the time creativity is rewarded, most of the time being the leader of the pack is rewarded and not a follower. Something like the V-Synth, the amazing thing is you could turn on a patch as your template, as your beginning, and start messing with it, and within seconds get something new that you may not, next time you come back and you might want to recreate that. If you save it, you can recreate it, but the excitement is being able to go in and even start from that patch and come out with a completely different sound. You want your brain to be translated to your speakers really quickly, within seconds, and by very quickly assigning the D-beam to doing what you want, what would take you, for me, minutes, which is really a lifetime, to program, in terms of, maybe it's a filter sweep, maybe it's a pitch modulation, maybe it's something, what would take too long to program that will, now lose inspiration, is simply as simple as waving your hand and going, okay, well, that was easy. I could take this drum loop that I've sampled and slow it down and make it sound like a record and spin it backwards, and all these things that are keyboards and mice, and and programming, and and quick key commands, and all of these things that have typically been very much almost a strenuous process to do. It could be realized really quickly. I mean, and that's the beautiful thing for someone like me who works with a sequencer, who works with a hard disk recording system, where the V-Synth is something that will perfectly slide in and become an awesome accompaniment to that. Because if you think manipulating audio is easy in some sort of digital audio environment, it's 10 times easier on the V-Synth. And so it'll allow you to maintain your creativity, and allow you to maintain your flexibility, and if you can imagine it, you can do it. If you can conceive it, you can achieve it, for sure. All the best, it feels to me in my initial reactions that all the best parts of the very phrase technology is incorporated into the V-Synth, making the interface even more user friendly. And in a way, it seems like the math is being done here for me. It's like, okay, I want this drum loop to do this, and bam, it does it. I really like the sound of this loop, but I don't think the pattern is right necessarily. So I just pop V-Synth into step mode and, assign it to the keys, which sounds complex. For me, it is complex, believe me, but it's really simple. I mean, and that's the astonishment factor to me on the V-Synth, is that loop sounds great, but this kick is slightly in the wrong place. It really should be on the and of beat 2, but it's on beat 2. So okay, how can I redo this synth? It's the benefit of having all of these recycling type of softwares, but any keyboard, which as a musician is the best part. It's being able to stick my fingers on keys and play a drum loop as if I was playing a piano, or as if I was playing a lead, or any of those things. It puts the feeling of playing back into sampling. taking the samples, messing them about, replacing things, and then I mean it's endless. I mean that's the amazing thing. What the V-Synth is, in the biggest compliment, is it's a shell for your imagination. You could do whatever you want with it. In fact, it would be, you should, if you just want to stick to presets, then don't buy it. But if you really want to expand what you can do, then this is a unit for you to have. If anybody uses the sounds as just stock patches, then I will be shocked, because they're so easy to manipulate. It's not deep editing. It's deep editing brought to the surface is really what it is. The V-Synth enables me to be able to create a really truly unique sound, even if it's just a sine wave that's been manipulated or whatever. I can now create that within seconds. It does not inhibit the creative process at all. It makes everything sound more expensive. You take a sample of a marching drum, and you could actually find the tonality in a snare sample and create a whole patch just on the overtone of a snare. It's bizarre, but that's how you create something new, and without actually even using the snare. And that was the part that blew me away in seeing how this thing works. It's like, ding, which is a snare drum, but you actually just take the note out of it and create that, and you put that across the keyboard and create a patch from it. It's mind-boggling.